Never have I been more entertained and disappointed at the same time by a movie than with the Justice League. The Justice League stars Ben Affleck, Henry Cavill, Gal Gadot, and is directed by Zack Snyder. What's up, guys? Welcome to my review for the Justice League. This movie is something that I've been waiting the whole year for. It's my #1 most anticipated movie. Big reason for that is because I'm such a fan of Batman v Superman, Man of Steel. Those two movies are probably in my top 10 favorite superhero movies of all time. I love them. I constantly defend them. So of course the Justice League was something that I was really looking forward to just because those two characters were in there. Wonder Woman I thought was only okay. Highly overrated though, actually. I thought the villain wasn't that strong. And that's part of the problem with this movie, but we will get into that. Also, spoilers. I am going to be talking about some spoilers throughout this, but keep in mind, even if you watch this review, it's not really going to affect your enjoyment of this movie. It's not going to be mind-shattering because I'm going to be talking about Superman. If you have a brain in your head, you probably know that Superman is in this movie. So, you know, I just have to give you that warning just in case. You might be one of those people that just like going into a movie knowing nothing. But first, let's get into the plot of the Justice League. This picks up shortly after Batman v Superman. The world is kind of in mourning because of Superman's death. And then this new villain comes along in the name of Steppenwolf. Now, you might remember there was a brief scene or a mention of Steppenwolf. I don't even think the name's even mentioned, actually. You just see him at the end of Batman v Superman. Well, in this movie, he is the major villain. And he has this army of parademons with him, coming from the planet Apocalypse. Hey, X-Men, Apocalypse. But he wants to acquire these mother boxes. One is with the Atlanteans, one is with the Amazonians, and then one is on Earth here. And that was kind of a cool scene because you got to see Green Lantern. And that was a nice little surprise. But Bruce Wayne has to bring the Justice League together to fight this enemy, and he can't do it by himself. And so he grabs Wonder Woman, Aquaman, the Flash, and Cyborg. But eventually in this movie, they realize that the only thing they can do to really defeat this guy and the parademons is to resurrect Superman, much like the way that Zod was resurrected in Batman v Superman. And let me just say that is a good segue into the pros for this movie because I really did like Superman in this movie. I liked Batman as well. Let's start with Superman. One thing I loved about the marketing for this is they did not show you much of anything to do with Superman. We didn't get to see him in the actual costume, which was cool. So when he did come on the screen, it was exhilarating, it was exciting. And I will say this is probably the best version of the character I've seen in all of the DCEU. He's much more optimistic, he's much more friendly, I guess you could say. You actually get to see him with a smile on his face, which is nice. And I think that's one reason people didn't like Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, but this was like a young version of the character. This was a Superman that was figuring himself out. So if you're in this world where everybody hates you, you're not gonna be cheery all the time. But after the death of Superman, the people of Metropolis, they began to see, what type of character he was. He gave his life for these people. But that scene when he comes to life, he's not all there. He's not fully good, I guess you could say. He's kind of like Bizarro Superman. And this really shows you how dangerous of a character he is. We don't really get to see Superman as a bad guy that often. So when we do see it, it's extremely deadly. And it took all 5 of the Justice League to try to stop him, and they failed. The only thing that calmed him down was Lois Lane. Especially the scene when he attacks Batman, and Batman doesn't have any kryptonite with him. And I was scared for Batman, like he could easily break every bone in the guy's body. Also, Batman is really cool in this movie. Ben Affleck, I think, is the best Batman since Michael Keaton. He just has the look, the physicality, and I like this version of Batman. This is the Dark Knight Returns Batman. He's older, he's wiser. But the action scenes with Batman and the rest of the Justice League are fantastic, actually. As far as pacing goes, this might be the best paced movie out of the bunch. It's just at 2 hours, and there's really not a dry spot in it, so I have to give it that. Now let's get into the cons though. I think there is a much better, longer version of this movie. I think there is an ultimate cut that probably frees up a lot of that choppiness that we get throughout. As I was watching this, I noticed that there were some scenes that felt like they were missing something. And as a matter of fact, Zack Snyder has not even seen the theatrical cut of this movie. So there is a longer cut out there, I'm sure. And so I'm hoping that we get that version when the Blu-ray comes out. Also, in the cons section of this review, I will say the rest of the characters outside of Batman and Superman, now there are some that kind of ride the line between pros and cons, like Wonder Woman, like Aquaman, like The Flash. They all had their moments to shine that were cool, but outside of that, they weren't that exciting to me, really. I'd say The Flash was probably the most entertaining out of them, but a lot of this comedy falls flat. This is DC trying to, I hate to use the word copy, but it seems like they're trying to capture that Marvel formula of, you know, throwing in a lot of comedy in their movies. That's a really scary thing to do, because if you don't do it right, it's gonna fall on its face. And that's kind of what it does in some of the scenes. Some of the scenes felt forced. Some of them were funny though. The crowd did seem like they were into it. There's one scene that involves mentioning a pet cemetery, which I thought was really funny. So I can't fully fault it, but it just kind of felt off. And then my biggest con for this movie is the character of Steppenwolf, which felt like a video game. It felt like, you know, just a CGI fest, which was my big problem with Wonder Woman, actually. I could not get invested in Steppenwolf at all. On paper, at face value, he sounds like an interesting character, but seeing it on screen, it wasn't as compelling, I thought. As a matter of fact, this didn't feel as like grand or as epic as Batman v Superman and Man of Steel did. If you remember that finale in Man of Steel with Zod, and I'll even say Zod, I think, is the greatest villain that the DCEU has had. That scene was grand, was epic. It felt huge. It was in the city of Metropolis. You had buildings freaking exploding and falling. This one, it felt like they were on a sound stage. It felt really fake. It was completely red for some reason. I don't know. I had a good time with some of the scenes, but overall, like I said, it just felt like a CGI fest, and it completely took me out of the movie. But I can't completely bash on this movie. I will give it just a straight up humdrum. It's kind of right down the middle, and I definitely plan on watching it again just to give it another try. But I don't think my opinion is going to change that much. I don't think Steppenwolf is a great villain. But I will say that end credits scene with Deathstroke really got me interested. So that's good stuff. But if this movie doesn't perform that well, we might not see another movie with Deathstroke. We'll see. So anyway, guys, that's my review for the Justice League. What are your thoughts on this movie? Also, come over to Kill Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day. On Fridays, we do Free For All Fridays. There's been so much discussion about this movie over the past couple of days. A lot of arguments going on. It's really fun. Also, follow me at Drumdums on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. If you like what I'm doing, hit that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and Drumdum out.